Right now, you're at this video because you are struggling to find a inverse of a 3 by 3 matrix. Maybe your teacher is explaining it and you just like, what is going on? You look in your textbook and it's like, I can't even deal. There's like 54 pages explaining how to do this, and there's so many steps, overwhelmed. You may have a test tomorrow. You are in the right place. I'm going to show you exactly how to do the inverse of a 3 by 3 matrix. It is quite a long process, but it is so easy. It's just little steps. So if you can just memorize the different steps you need to do, then it's pretty straightforward. There's nothing challenging. You just have to remember the steps. Okay, so promise me that you'll stick around because I'm going to show you 3 examples. Okay, after example number 1, you might still be feeling like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can remember all those steps. After number 2, you're going to be like, oh, that's actually not too bad. After number 3, you're going to be like, oh my goodness, can that test just come already? Like, I am so ready for this. All right, let's go. So, as I said, it's a whole bunch of steps. So, the first step, step 1 is just go get the determinant. Now, remember, this is a 3 by 3, so you need to know how to find the determinant of a 3 by 3. If you don't worry. A few videos ago, I did explain how to find the determinant of a 3 by 3 matrix. You also need to know how to find the determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix. So look for those videos first, and then come back to this one, because you're going to need to know that, all right? It'll take you like 10 minutes. So assuming that you know how to do the determinant of a 3 by 3, let's do it. So if you know that, you'd know that we start with this number over here. So you say minus 4. I'm going to try write quite small, but also large enough that you guys can actually see, because there's quite a few steps we're going to be doing. And then what you do is you make a brand new matrix now. Okay, and the way that you do that is you draw a line going down through the minus 4 and across. The numbers that are left over, put that into a new matrix. So this is all about determinant, okay? Finding the determinant. There we go. Then you're going to say minus. Then you're going to take this number, which is a 5. Okay, and then you're going to make a new matrix. So what you do is you draw a line going down and across through the 5. The numbers that are still visible, that's your new matrix. So it's a -2, it's a 1, it's a 6, and a 0. Then you say plus. Okay, you've got to memorize this stuff. Then it's going to be plus 0. So it's always these 3 top numbers that we use. So you put a line going down, a line going across. The numbers that are still visible, that's your new matrix. Okay, so this is -2, 5, 6, -5. Now what we do now is we go find the determinant of each of these. So those are now 2 by 2 matrices. So you need to know how to find the determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix. So the way that this works now is you say -4. So to find the determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix is you multiply this first diagonal. So that's 5 times 0, which is 0. Then you say minus, and then you multiply this diagonal. Okay, and that's 1 times -5, which is -5. Then you say minus 5, and then you just do the same. So you multiply the first diagonal, which is 0, because -2 times 0 is 0. Then you say minus, and then you multiply this diagonal, which is 6. And then for this next part, I'm just going to say plus 0, because no matter what this determinant is, when you multiply it with 0, the answer is 0. Okay, now we're just going to quickly simplify. So 0 plus 5 is 5. Because that becomes a plus, right? And then -5 times -6, and then plus 0. So that's going to be -20, and then this becomes positive 30, so positive 30, and so the answer is 10. So that's our determinant. Okay, so we'll just write that up here, because I definitely need space. So the determinant is 10. We'll keep that aside for now. So that's step 1, determinant. Step 2 is we're going to go make a cofactor matrix. Kevin, dude, that's way too fancy, bro. Like, I've got my test tomorrow. What's a cofactor matrix? Don't worry, I'll explain it now. So the cofactor matrix is when you do the following, okay? So it's quite a big matrix. Well, it's got a lot of little steps. So, well, I mean, it's the same size as this one, but what you do, okay, so we're going to start with position 1, so that's the -4. So I want you to put a line through it and put a line through it that way. You see the numbers that are left over? Okay, find the determinant of that. So that's going to be 5 times 0, which is 0. Take away this part over here, which is -5. Okay, just to save, I mean, I can do it over here, I guess, but it's going to take, yeah, it'll be okay. So 5 times 0. So we're just finding the determinant of these numbers. 5 times 0, and then minus, and then 1 times -5, which is -5. Okay. Then we're just going to literally do that for every single thing now. So let's quickly go simplify that. So that's 0 plus 5, so that's just going to be 5. Okay, so we've done this one. Done. Now we're going to move on to the next one. Now you can go anywhere. You can go here, or you can go here. We're going to have to do it with every single one of these numbers. So let me explain. If we do this one, then you put a line through that one, and you put a line through that one. See the numbers that are left over? Find the determinant of those. That's -2, 0, 1, 6. Okay, so that'll be -2 times 0, take away, and then 1 times 6, which is 6, and that's just going to give us -6, so you go put that over there. Okay, and we're just going to keep going. So now we're going to do this one. So you block it out, and the answer is going to go over here. But if you decided to be cool and you wanted to do this one, that's fine. Then just put the answer over here, and you would just block out those. And for example, if you maybe wanted to do this one, then you just put the answer over here. So you block out that one, and you block out that one, and then the numbers that are left over. So this is your cofactor matrix. Pretty easy, just takes a bit of time, right? So we're going to do this one, and then we'll put the answer here. So the numbers that are left over would, okay, so you find the determinant. So it's -2 times -5. So this is all determinants of a 2 by 2 matrix. And then take away 5 times 6, which is 30. So that's going to be 10, take away 30, which is -20. And we'll put the answer there. Okay, so now we're moving on to this part over here, which is this one here. So you just put a line and a line. The numbers that are left over, get the determinant. See, so this video just requires you to know how to do 3 by 3 determinants and 2 by 2 determinants. Okay, Kevin, stop talking, dude. Let's go. I've got a test tomorrow. So 5 times 0 is, so let's say 5 times 0, and then take away this one times this one. It's just going to be 0 because 0 times anything is 0. This is also 0, so this whole thing is just 0. There we go. Okay, now we need to go to this one, which corresponds with that one. So you just put a line going through, line going through. You see the numbers that are left over? These ones? There's your determinant. So you get your 2 by 2 determinant from that. It's also just going to give you 0, right? Because you can pause and check that out for yourself, but it'll be 0. Okay, then we're going to go to this one. So you put a line, and there's your determinant. So it's -4 times -5. Subtract 5 times 6. Okay, so that's going to be 20, take away 30, which is -10. So we put -10. Nothing too difficult so far, right? Just quite a long process. But yeah, Kevin, how am I going to remember the steps? Trust me, you will. We just got to do a few examples and you will get it. It's like that with anything in life. Like in the beginning, it's like, oh my goodness, do another example, it feels better. Do another example and you're like, hey, I can actually do this. Great feeling, by the way. So the next one is this one. So it's the 6. So you put a line. And now we just do the determinant of the numbers that are left. So it's 5 times 1, take away 0 times 5, and that's just going to give us 5. So we put a little 5 there. Cool. The next one is this one. So you put a line, and that's going to be, so the numbers that are left over, that's your determinant. So it's going to be those numbers. So it's going to be -4 times 1, take away 0 times -2, and so that's just going to give us -4. Okay, -4. And the last one for the cofactor is this one here. So you just put a line through it and a line through it. And so now we just multiply those, take away, and then we multiply those. Okay. And so that's going to be -20, positive plus 10, because those are two negatives. And that just gives us -10. Well done. We have a cofactor matrix. Okay, those are the most difficult steps. The next steps are pretty straightforward. So what we do now is we do a sign change. Okay, step 3, we do a sign change. Now, what do I mean? So the way it works is the following. This first one, it's always like this, by the way. You keep this one. So I'm going to put a K for keep. The next one you change. The next one you keep. Now it just changes like this the whole time. Change, keep. Change, keep. Change, keep. Kevin, what are you talking about, dude? Check this out. So it always goes like that, right? The first one you keep, and then you just go across, and then you go across, and you just go across. So it's you keep the first one, you change this one. So what do I mean by change? Well, if it's a negative, change it to a positive. Okay? This one you keep. This one you change. Well, I'm not going to change a 0 to -0 because that's still 0. This one you keep. This one you change. So it is -10. Now you make it +10. This one you keep. This one you change, so it's -4, now it's +4, and then this one you keep. That's all. So that's what the sign change was. Always start with keep, okay? So that means like don't change that one. So let's get rid of all these K's and these C's now. Okay, step 4. Do the diagonal flip. Yeah, there's fancy words for it like transpose, but come on, we're students. We just want to know what to do. So diagonal flip. What do I mean by that? So get a diagonal. That's the diagonal. Now what you do is you just look across the diagonal. So the 0 and the 6, the 5 and the -20, and the 4 and the 10. What I want you to do is flip those numbers over. Don't change their signs, just flip them over. So, for example, this 6 and this 0 is going to switch over to become 6 and 0. So we're going to put the 6 here and the 0 there. Okay, that's all we're doing now. Now we're going to switch this 5 and this -20. We're going to switch them around. So it's going to be -20 and then 5. And then you're going to flip these ones around. So that's a 4 and a 10. So now it's going to become a 10 and a 4. That's all, okay? So there's the diagonal flip. Amazing. Guys, we are so close to being done. Now what we do is you are going to now do the following. You're going to take this matrix that we now have, okay? You're going to take that matrix and you're going to multiply it with 1 over the determinant. Okay, so that's going to look like this. You're going to go 1 over 10, so it's 1 over the determinant, and then you're going to multiply it with this brand new matrix that we've developed after doing these 5,000 steps. Okay, so that's going to be 5, 0, 5, 6, 0, 4. I really hope some of you are watching this and you're like, oh my gosh, I can actually do this. Yes, it's a lot of steps, and I might not remember it all by now, but I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, so now we're just going to go multiply this like a scalar to every single one of those, okay? Because, you know, we all have 24 hours and we just have time to just do maths all day long. And we just expected by teachers to just do like all these steps, you know, because we have nothing better to do in our life. That was all sarcasm, by the way. So, let's just see. Okay, so now we're just going to go multiply that all together. And you can use your calculator for this if you want. Like, no one likes fractions. So the first one would be a half, right? By the way, I don't know, this is meant to be square brackets. So the first one's a half because I multiplied that by that. Kevin, isn't it 5 over 10? Yeah, but then once you simplify, it becomes a half. 1 over 10 times 0 is 0. This one would be a half. The next one would be 6 over 10, but that simplifies to 3 over 5. The next one's a 0. 4 over 10 simplifies to 2 over 5. I'm just multiplying all of these. Okay, now I'm multiplying this one, so that's going to be -2. This one is going to be a 1, and then this one is going to be -1. And that is it. That is how we do the inverse. So I know it's a lot of steps, okay? But come on, you can't tell me that in any of those steps is really that bad. You just have to remember all of it. Okay, so maybe just go right down, maybe just add step 5, which is 1 over the determinant multiplied by this new matrix. Those are the 5 steps. If you can just write those down quickly on a piece of paper, and then maybe, I don't know how you're feeling right now, but let's go do that second example, and let's see if you can, remember to do most of it. You might not remember all of it, but it's going to get better each time, I promise. So here's our next example. Now remember, step 1, let's just write this better, yeah. Kevin, sorry guys, having a freak out moment here. Step 1, always the determinant. Step 2, I'll just write them down in case you want to pause the video and try it yourself. Do the whole cofactor matrix. Step 3, do that whole sign change. Remember the keep change. Step 4, do that whole diagonal flip, which is technically called the transpose, but ain't nobody got time for that. Step 5, that's when you do the last step, which is like the whole 1 over the determinant. Like, who came up with this stuff? Honestly. 1 over the determinant multiplied by the matrix. So, like, guys, I teach this stuff, I know, but I think it's all crazy. Like, it's like, and so, like, what's this going to do for me? It's like, geez, like, So 1 over the determinant times the matrix. I mean, I enjoy it, but like I just enjoy being able to do calculations and stuff. But I can understand as a student, like when I was a student, I was like, geez, man, why do I have to do this? But yeah, so I hear you. But, you know, yeah, I'm not going to go into the whole, like, go down this whole rabbit hole of talking a lot now. I'm just going to carry on with this lesson. So step 1, find the determinant. So once again, you need to know how to find a 3 by 3 determinant. So remember, it all has to do with these numbers over here. So you're going to say 3, then you're going to make a new matrix. That new matrix is by crossing out the lines going, so you do a line going through the 3 that way and that way. You see the numbers that are left, turn that into a matrix. So 3, -3, -2. And it is easy to make a mistake in these, you know, like you can get one little sign change. But I mean, sometimes your teachers, they'll mark with that mistake. They're not going to just be like, okay, no, wrong. They usually do mark with it. Like you could make one small little mistake, like you could change a minus to a positive or something like that, and it just makes the entire thing wrong. Don't worry about that. Like if your teacher can see your steps, they're not going to just be like, okay, you got 0, you failed. So 3 minus 1 minus 3, 2. Okay, then you say minus. Then you do this number. So you put a 2, and then you put a line going through and through. It's a little bit different to the cofactor matrix. With the cofactor matrix, you also put a line going through and through, but then you don't use the 2 at all. Whereas here when you determine the determinant, you do actually use the 2 as well. So that's, maybe you noticed that. Okay, so the numbers that are left over, we turn that into a matrix. So that's 5, -3, -2, -1. Then you say plus. Now what number do we say? This one over here. And then you block. And then you're going to say 5, 3, -2, -2. Okay, so now what you go do is you go get the determinant of each of these. All right, so that's what we're doing next. So it's going to be 3. Now the determinant is always this diagonal first, so you multiply them. That's -3. Then you say subtract, and then you multiply these two. So that's going to be -3 times -2, which is +6. So Kevin, why are you putting a negative, bro? You just said it's positive. Guys, remember, this negative is because when you're doing the determinant, you say the first one minus the second one, okay? And then -2, and then we're going to multiply these ones now, so that's -5, and then you're going to multiply these, then I'm going to say minus, and then you're going to multiply these two, which is 6. Okay, and then you're going to say +1, and then you're going to multiply these two, subtract, and then these two, which is -6. Now we're just going to simplify. So that's 3 times by -3 take away 6 is -9. And then -5, -6 is -11. Okay, and then you're going to say +1, and then this becomes a positive. So it's -10 plus 6, which is -4. Then you go ahead and you just calculate all of this. That's -27 plus 22 take away 4. So -27 plus 22 take away 4, and that's going to give us -9. Okay, so that's the determinant. So let's go put that over here. Determinant is going to be equal to -9. Okay, so now I'm going to go erase all of that just to make some space. Okay, so that's step 1 complete. Now we need to go and do the cofactor matrix. So the cofactor matrix, maybe you've forgotten that part already. It's okay. This is only our second example. By the third one, you're going to be like PhD level doing this stuff. So the cofactor matrix is what you do is you make a matrix and you just start with the first position. So you draw a line through it and you draw a line through it. And then you take the determinant of whatever numbers are left over. Okay, so that's going to be 3 multiplied by -1, take away. So I'm just doing 3 multiplied by -1, take away, and then -3 multiplied by -2, which is +6. Okay, so that's going to be -3 take away 6, -3 take away 6, which is -9. So I put a little -9 there. And now you just have to go do that with every single part of this thing. So the next one would be here, for example. So we put a line. And so now it's going to be 5. So now we're doing the determinant of the numbers that are left over. So it's 5 multiplied by -1. And then we'll say minus. and then we'll multiply these two together over here, which is negative 3 times negative 2, which is 6. So that's going to give us negative 5, take away 6, and that's going to give us negative 11. So we'll put that over here. Okay, next one. I know it's just a long process, but it's not difficult, eh? So now we put a line through those, and so now we do the determinant. So we multiply those two together, which is negative 10. Then we say minus, and then we multiply those two together, which is negative 6. And so that's going to give us negative 10 plus 6, and that's going to give us negative 4. And we put the answer over there. Now we do the 5. So we draw a line through it, and a line through it. And the numbers that are left over, that becomes the determinant. So we'll say 2 times negative 1, which is negative 2. Then you say minus, and then you do 1 times negative 2, which is negative 2. So it ends up becoming negative 2 plus 2, and so that's going to be 0. So we put a 0 over here. And the next one, so that's this one now. So we put a line through, line through. The numbers that are left over, that would be for your determinant. So that's 3 multiplied by negative 1, which is negative 3. Take away. And then those two multiplied together is negative 2. And so that's going to be negative 3 plus 2. And so that's negative 1. So negative 1. Now we're doing negative 3. So we put a line through, put a line through. And so that's going to give us the determinant that would be there now would be negative 6. Take away. And then we're going to multiply those two, which is negative 2. So it becomes negative 6 plus 2, which is negative 4. Okay. Now, where are we? Okay, now we're here. So we put a line through there, line through there. And so now what we do is we multiply those two together. So that's negative 6 minus, and then we're going to multiply those two together, and that's 3. And so that's going to give us negative 9. And so that's going to give us negative 9. Okay, so now, you see now, sometimes you might get lost. You might be like, where am I in the process? But that's so easy to figure out. You know that you're here, so that means you're here. So you just put a line through there and a line through there. You see, so you'll never get lost. It's easy to find out where you are. So now you're going to use these two numbers. That's negative 9, take away, and then you're going to do these two numbers, which is 5, and that would be negative 14. So that's going to give us negative 14 over here. And now we are in the last one, so you put a line and a line. And so that's going to give you 3 times 3, which is 9, take away 2 times 5, which is 10, and so that's negative 1. There we have it. Okay, so that is the, so we've done the determinant, which we got as negative 9. We've done the cofactor. Now we need to do the sign change. So remember, you keep the first one, then you change, then you keep, then you change, then you keep, then you change, then you keep, then you change, then you keep. So it just switches like that, okay? So you're going to keep this one as negative 9, so let's ignore that. You're going to change this one, so if it is a negative, now it's a positive. You're going to keep the negative 4, you're going to change the 0, but I mean 0 or negative 0 makes no difference, right? You're going to keep this one, you're going to change the negative 4 to a positive 4, you're going to keep the negative 9, and you're going to change the negative 14. So you're going to change that to a positive 14, and then you're going to keep the negative 1. There we go. So we've now done that part. Now we need to do the diagonal flip. So you have the diagonal highlighted. You don't ever change the diagonal. All you do is you look across the diagonal. So those are going to switch around. Those are going to switch around. And then those are going to switch around. Okay, so we literally just switch them. So 11 and 0 will switch around. So this will become 11. This will be a 0. Then we're going to switch the negative 9 and the negative 4 around. So this will become a negative 9. This part would be a negative 4. And then the 4 and the 14 is going to switch. So this will be a 4 now. And this one would be a 14. So we've done the diagonal flip. And now all that we need to do is use the step 5 formula, which says 1 over the determinant. So 1 over negative 9. And then we're going to go multiply that by this new matrix that we've just made. So it's like this, like that, like that, like that, negative 4, 4, and negative 1. Okay, so now what you do is you just go take that 1 over negative 9, which is the same as negative 1 over 9, and you're going to multiply that to every single element. So you can do it on the calculator. So -9 multiplied by -1/9, the negatives would cancel, so you'd end up just getting 1. Anything times 0 is 0, so that's going to be 0. Then we're multiplying these two together, so that's also going to give us a 1. Then you're multiplying this together. Do it on the calculator, it's much easier. -11/9. Then you're going to multiply these two together, so two negatives always make a positive. This one and this one, it's going to give you -14/9. And then what's next? Okay, then we're going to do this one, so that's going to be +4/9. So +4/9. And then this one, so that's -4/9. And then negative out of negative makes a +1/9. And so I just noticed that this seems to be incorrect. Well, one of my answer is incorrect. So maybe you spotted something that I've done wrong. So I'm going to go investigate quickly. Now, I don't need to go redo everything. I know that the mistake is somewhere over here. So I know that it's the cofactor of this one. So I'm going to block out that and block out that. So if I look at the determinant, it's going to be -9 and then -5. Whoops, -5. So that's -14, okay? So, then I would have made that whole diagonal... Oh, no, it wouldn't be that one, because after I made the switch... Oh, it wouldn't be that one. Because after we do the diagonal flip... so it's actually going to be this one that's the problem, because after I do the diagonal flip, then it would end up here. So this one's the problem. So I need to scratch out and scratch out. And then if I work out the determinant there, it's going to be 3 times -2, which is -6, minus, and then 2 times -2 is -4. So it's going to be -6 plus 4, which is -2. Okay, that's already looking much better. I think I got -4 in the first part. Okay, okay, yes, so that's going to be -2, which is technically in the matrix, it's written over here as -2, but then we would have done a flip, so this number here would have become a -2, so that means that this is going to become a -2/9 and not a -4/9. So I do apologize about that. I must have made a mistake along the way, but there we go. We now have the correct answer. All right, so let's do one more example. So remember, let's go write out our steps. So step 1, get the determinant. Step 2, get the cofactor matrix. Step 3, sign change. Step 4, diagonal flip. And then step 5, we would do that formula. So 1 over the determinant multiplied by matrix. Okay, so there we have it. So step 1, we're going to go work out the determinant. So remember, to get the determinant, we just start with this first number over here, so that's 1, and then what you do is you draw a line through it, boom, boom, and then the numbers that are left over, that becomes your brand new matrix for this part, so -5 and -1. Then you say minus. What do you minus? You minus this number, and then you put a line through that, boom, boom, and that becomes your new matrix, 0, 1, -1, -1, and then you say plus 2, and then you put a line through and through, and then you do that whatever's left over there. So 0, -4, -1, and -5. Okay, so now we need to go get the determinant of each of these. So that's going to be -4 times -1, which is 4. Take away 1 times -5, which is -5. This I'm just going to say -0, because 0 times anything is just 0. Then plus 2. And then, brackets, just normal brackets. And so 0 times -5 is 0, take away, and then -4 times -1 is 4, like that. And so if we had to go work this out now, it'll be 1 times 9 plus 2 times -4, and so that's going to give us 9, take away 8, which is 1. So there we've done the first step. So our determinant is 1. Okay, now we need to go do the cofactor. So the cofactor one is the one where we need to go do every single one of these numbers, and each time we do one of the numbers, you block it out. So if we do the 1, you block it out, you draw a line going down and a line going across, and so you need to now go work out this determinant. So it's -4 times -1, which is 4, take away, and then 1 times -5 is -5, and so that gives us 9. So we can put a 9 over there. And then this one over here, you put a line and you put a line, and so that's going to be 0 times -1, which is 0, take away, and then 1 times -1 is -1, and so that gives us 1. Now we can do this one, so you block, and then you do 0 times -5, which is 0, take away, -4 times -1 is +4, so that's going to give us -4. You then do this one, so you put a line, and that's going to give you 0, and then minus -10, so that gives you 0 plus 10, which is 10. There we go. Then you block, and then you're going to do 1 times -1, which is -1, take away 2 times -1, which is -2, so it becomes -1 plus 2, which is 1. Okay, then it's this one, and so that's going to be 1 multiplied by -5, take away 0, that's just going to be 0, because 0 multiplied by anything is just 0, so there's -5. Okay, and then what's next? Okay, so now we are here. See, sometimes you get lost, but then you realize you're here, so you just put a line, and so it's 0 times 1, which is 0, take away 2 times -4, which is -8, and so that's going to give us +8. There we go. And then we're going to do this one, so we're going to block, and so that's going to give us 1 times 1, take away 2 times 0, which is just 0, and so that gives us a 1 over there. And then the last one for the cofactor, block out there, so it's going to be 1 times -4, take away 0, so that's just going to be -4. So there we go, we now have our cofactor matrix. So what we do is we now do a sign change on the cofactor matrix. Remember, the first one, you keep it as it is, change that one, keep, and then you just alternate, change, keep, change, keep, change, keep, just like that. Okay, so the first one we keep, the second one we change. So this one was 1, now it'll become -1. This 10 was positive, now it becomes negative. The 5 is negative, now it becomes positive. The 8 is positive, so we're keeping that one as it is. We're changing this one, and then we're keeping that one. Okay, so we've done the sign change. Now it's time for the diagonal flip. So the diagonal is that part there. And so what you do is you change these two, you change those two, and you change those two. Okay, so that's going to become, so we're going to switch the -10 and the -1 around. So the -1 goes here, and the -10 goes there. Then we're going to switch the 8 and the -4, so 8 goes here, and -4 goes there. And then we're going to switch the 5 and the -1, so 5 goes here, and then -1 goes there. Okay, so there we have our matrix, and then we just need to use that formula. So 1 over the determinant, which is just 1, and then we just need to go and fill in this, 9, -10, 8, -1, 1, -1, -4, 5, and -4. We actually done, because if you multiply anything by 1, it's just the same thing. So let's just make sure we got the correct answer here. 9, -1, 1, -1, -4, 5, -4. Excellent. We're done.